Okay, what do we got going on?
All right, Deadline is reporting we finally have a Dungeons and Dragons movie closer to happening. Sources are saying that Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly, the directors of Game Night, they're
Didn't they write
in
Spider-Man
talks,
too?
and they wrote Spider-Man: Homecoming. Yeah,
right.
they're in talks to direct for Hasbro's AllSpark Pictures banner.
No, this is very Dungeons and Dragons has come a long way.
Oh, yeah.
Since that original movie came out, right? When would that movie come out? In the 90s, whatever it was.
Was
Like
that the
early
Bowl?
90s.
Yeah, because it was still a very popular thing, like underground, but it is blown up. When you look at people like Joe Manganiello and just Kyle Newman, all these people who play Dungeons and Dragons, our friend Matt Mercer, like it's got this really cult, big, not even cult anymore. It's
Stranger Things kids.
right. But it's big. It's big. It's got a big audience. This is. You want to make sure that it's not just someone capitalizing. And I don't think these guys might be huge fans of Dungeons and Dragons, but you want to do this right for the hardcore fan because you can start a pretty big franchise here.
Should have made it a series, live action
yeah.
instead of this Lord of the Rings series. For whatever reason, they're doing that.
The prequel series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When does it take place? The prequel.
I want to say it's like 3,000 years
Okay.
before.
You don't think they should be doing a Lord of the Rings series?
I don't know.
Or no,
I'm just-
sorry. Actually, I don't know. Oh, I thought you were talking about Game of
Game of
Thrones.
Thrones.
No. The Lord of the Rings series is not a prequel. It is
No.
it's basically the same retread of the movies. It's just
I thought it
longer.
was
Wait,
some.
it's just the movie.
There's no other source material to go from.
No, they're
No.
pulling from the
No.
Silmarillion, which is some of the expanded
happens
stuff
afterwards?
after, before.
So we're not going to have Viggo Mortensen in this.
No,
right?
none of
me-
the originals.
Let's see. Let's
Apparently,
see.
it follows a young Aragorn.
Ah,
Oh,
pretty
see,
cool.
So it is a
According to this
prequel.
article.
So you guys are just talking out of your assholes.
I just don't really care.
I am talking out of my mouth, and I think that I'm excited for that and
I
for
am too.
Dungeons
I am
and
too.
Dragons. I always wanted to learn to play Dungeons and Dragons. I think I'd be really into it because of all the role play stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's really fun. But it's interesting to see what the community thinks about this movie versus what us as people who are just going to be watching a movie and
Right.
need to have a strong story.
Well, that's kind of exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking, and I think that more will come out from the community when we find out how they're going to approach it and how they're and how big of fans are they? Because not all the time with properties do the creators or directors need to be massive fans, but I think with something like this, you should be. I think you should be massive fans. I think you should play. I think you should be in these games.
Do you think, Christian, this should be one of those they're playing the game and the game comes to life situations, or do you think we start in a Dungeons and Dragons world?
Yeah, I'd rather stay.
Okay.
There. I don't want to do a Princess Bride
Bride
type
thing?
thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to say that it's going to kill it if it does, but just put it in the
I mean,
world.
they're probably, I think this is a fan service. I don't think they're going to do it for like people that have no idea about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's going to be some exposition, but it's going to be a lot of like, not to take a, but there's like the Mandalorian's going to have so much Star Wars stuff in there that the casual non-Star Wars fan has no idea.
Well,
I wonder then how-
I want to read this part of it here. Sorry, Rex. Like the game itself, mounting a screen version of Dungeons and Dragons has been a battle, including several years in the courts over a right dispute. Warner Brothers and New Line tried several incarnations, including one with Lego Batman helmer Chris McKay. He instead took Ghost Draft at Skydance with Chris Pratt, and the project lost steam when another Smash video game title adaptation, the $160 million budget Warcraft, didn't work in the U.S. for Legendary and Universal. It got panned here, though it did well overseas, but it certainly didn't help Dungeons and Dragons, which slipped loose with Paramount stepping in to take the shot. If the film somehow captures even some of the rabid player audience, it could be a blockbuster. Michael Giglio wrote the most recent draft, and Brian Goldner and Stephen Davis are producing for AllSpark. So,
AllSpark.
yeah, but I think that kind of reiterates what we're saying here: is that if you can capture if that fan base, if you can get them, it could be big.
Again, I would much rather see a Dungeons and Dragons series to introduce me to a new world as opposed to a Lord of the Rings.
That's what they're doing with Magic the Gathering.
You're not a big fantasy guy, though.
Yeah, I mean,
See,
like,
I
listen,
like
I loved. If you put together like my favorite parts of Journey, what's the first one called? Hobbit's Journey. No, like the
Yeah, Hobbit. Stop.
No. The Lord of the Rings. What's the first? Fellowship of the Ring.
Fellowship.
Okay. First one, like a little bit part of that, a lot of the Two Towers, and like a miniature part of Return of the King. Then I think it's a great movie together.
So you love Return of the King. You talk about it every 10 minutes.
No. I love Two Towers. I'm just saying. I was compared to the Return of the King.
Mentions it a lot.
Oh, but he doesn't.
he mentions it all the time to the point where you would think he would love
Right,
it.
no,
but
he
I
just
love
references
it.
it.
I'm referencing it because it was nominated for so many Academy Awards, and it wasn't like a death becomes my miniature man inside of a gay guy. It's like it's not one of those Oscar movies that's like has every box of all time. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the like Call Me by Your Name. Let me like it's got to have a tragedy and only makes $400,000.
My miniature man inside a gay guy.
I
see someone's working on that poster.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not like trying to insult any of these. I'm just saying like Oscar movies are like 9 out of 10 times it's like a movie nobody's seen, and then like a couple of the movies are really good that people love.